Have you ever decided to take control of your money and almost immediately things seem to spin out of control? In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why that happens and why it's actually a sign that you're close to a breakthrough. I'm Papa Charlie. School's in session. Think about it. You finally sit down to look at your accounts. I mean, really look. And suddenly you notice things you somehow didn't see before. Subscriptions you forgot about, that credit card balance that's higher than you remember, money going out that you can't quite account for. Maybe you started writing a budget for the first time, and now you can't seem to make the numbers work, even though technically nothing changed. The same money that felt fine last month is suddenly not quite enough. Or maybe you're building a business, a side hustle, or investing for the first time. You're doing everything right, but your bank account looks worse than when you weren't even trying. And here's what messes with your head the most. You thought getting serious about money would bring clarity, relief, progress. Instead, it brought disorder. That's when that small voice starts whispering, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I started too late. Maybe I'm just not good with money. But what if I told you that disorder is not a sign of failure? What if I told you that the breakdown is actually setting you up for a breakthrough? See, here's what nobody tells you about financial transformation. It always feels like it's getting worse before it gets better. I've seen it happen over and over. Someone decides to get serious about their money, they open the books, they face the numbers, they start building something, and boom, resistance. An unexpected expense hits, a deal falls through, cash flow gets tighter than it's ever been, and they think, this is a sign. I shouldn't have done this. But that's not what's happening. What's actually happening is your eyes are being opened. For the first time, maybe ever, you're paying attention to your money. And when you pay attention to something that's been running on autopilot for years, of course it looks messy. Of course it feels uncomfortable. You didn't create disorder just by looking at it. It was already there. You just didn't see it. But now that you can see it, you can do something about it. But there's something even deeper going on here. Something that goes way beyond just budgets and bank accounts. There's actually an ancient principle that explains exactly why this happens. When I learned this principle, it completely changed how I saw my own financial journey. Actually, it changed how I saw any kind of transformation. Because it turns out this whole getting worse before getting better thing, it's not random. It's not Murphy's Law. It's not bad luck. It's actually a part of nature's design. And the blueprint for it has been sitting right there in the opening lines of the oldest book in human history. Let me show you what I mean. The Bible starts out telling us that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The second verse of the Bible says, and the earth was void and formless. Unfortunately, for those of us who read and speak English, something gets lost in translation. The Hebrew word hayah is translated to mean was, but a more accurate translation of hayah would be became. So Genesis 1 verse 2 should read, and the earth became void and formless. This has a completely different meaning and is the key to understanding how the world really works. Now I know what you're thinking. That's a nice Bible story, but what does that have to do with my money? Let me show you exactly how this plays out in real life. At the time of this video, I'm in my early 60s, and I'm starting to feel the effects of age on my overall health and fitness. Now, I've always believed that diet and exercise are the key to good health, but the exercise part, that's something I've avoided for a long, long time. Well, recently, I joined a gym with the intention of getting in shape, and I noticed something odd. First session, I bench pressed 135 pounds. It took some effort, but I got it done. Next session, I couldn't do it. I thought to myself, wait, I'm supposed to get stronger, not weaker. What happened? But then it hit me. When I applied this principle, resistance always precedes breakthrough, the answer became clear. To build muscle, you first have to break down the existing muscle. They even call it resistance training. The breakdown comes before the breakthrough. And here's the thing, the exact same principle applies to money. To build better financial habits and see better results, you first have to break yourself of the old habits. And in many cases, those new habits are directly opposed to what we've been doing. So you're not just trying to start something new. You're actively resisting the urge to do the old thing. That's the resistance phase. That's Genesis 1 verse 2. That's the breakdown before the muscle gets built. Unfortunately, most people are not willing to push through that initial period of discomfort and disorder. This is why so many New Year's resolutions end in failure. People hit the resistance and they quit right before the breakthrough. So here's what makes the difference between people who break through and people who don't. It starts with understanding one critical distinction. In the English language, especially in the United States, we tend to use words very casually, not really understanding their true meaning. When we say we've decided to do something, what we really mean is that we've chosen to do it. But these two words, choose and decide, have very different meanings. To choose is to select from a number of options, but the word decide comes from the Latin root de, meaning away from, and side, meaning to cut. So to decide is to cut off all other possibilities. Two very different meanings. When we choose to do something, we can be easily swayed. Throw an obstacle in our way, cause us to doubt the choice we've made, and we're out. But when we decide, there's usually a strong emotional reason tied to that decision. Our emotions, whether we're moving away from pain or toward pleasure, cause us to take action. And once that action's taken, like a locomotive chugging down the track, it becomes much harder to stop the momentum. Here's what I've learned. Nature is designed to test your resolve, to weed out those who aren't truly committed. The resistance isn't random. It's not bad luck. It's not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's the test. And if you know and understand this principle, that resistance always precedes breakthrough, you can actually rest in the discomfort. Because when you feel the resistance, that's your confirmation. You're not off track. You're right on schedule. You're in Genesis 1 verse 2. So my advice to you, keep pressing on. I'm Papa Charlie. Class dismissed.